Is that point?
Then turn it off and tell me what you want
Yeah.
to do, and then I'll...
All right. This is, what is this, September the 16th? Pawnee, Oklahoma?
Yeah.
This is Barbara. This is Nora Pratt and Martha Blaine discussing. Garland and I would discuss things about marriage, the early Pawnee marriages, who could marry, who you should marry, who you shouldn't marry. Did you marry in the village, or did you marry in your band, or what did you do, or what didn't you do? And we talked about birth, and we talked about divorce and separation of people, and as they affected women. You know, most of these things we hear, they're men interviewing, and they don't always ask these questions. And so he would talk about his band, the Peter Howie Rod, as far as he knew, but he said, now my mother's side, he said, I'm not sure. So what I thought was maybe you could just tell me what you remember about your mother's life. Hi, Adam. I told Adam, he said, what are you going to talk about up there? And I said, I'm going to talk about Pawnee women. He says, oh, they're no good.
I said, I think we're pretty good.
Yeah. But sort of something about, I know your mother was real elderly when I first came into the tribe.
And Gertie said that she died, she passed away at the age of 107, and she could have been older, than that, because them days, they didn't know how old they were when they come from Nebraska.
I know it.
And she was the last one to pass away here, of those that come. And they came on that last group that come down. Now, I don't know what year that was, 18-something yet.
I think they came down in 1875. The last group came down.
There was just a small group. It was mostly her family that come down.
Really?
Her uncles. There were 6 uncles and 3 sisters in that family.
What, do you remember any of their names?
Oh, some of them had Indian names, but the oldest one, he was the boss of them,
Yeah, the elder brother.
He was, so they stayed up there, I guess, when they, everybody else left, and they was around Genoa, the way she talked, they had that school there, and I think 2 of the uncles worked there, and they used to camp around there, and then they were attacked it so much, and finally they said, well, we're going to go where our people went.
By the Sioux.
So it was just mostly, the family. I don't know who all others come with them, but there was, a group of them.
What were their English names, Nora?
Well, I don't know their English names. One of them was George Washington, I believe. I think that was my grandfather. And one of them was named Pagadoa, and one was named Tiukauki. That's the Indian names, That's
Tiukauki.
Tiukauki. You got it on?
It is now. That's okay, isn't it now?
Well, yeah.
Well, I mean... Okay, all right.
Now, you wanted to know about the marriages.
Like, how did your mother get married? And what kind of, was there a ceremony, or?
Well, I guess my father was married to her cousin. It was a cousin. See, my mother was an only child.
All right.
And, her cousin was Maggie Washington, I guess. That would be her name, after they enrolled them here. And my mother's name was Lucy Washington. Yeah. And her mother passed away when she was real young, and she was raised by Lizzie Washington.
Lizzie.
That was, Katie and Barclay, Josie Washington and Barclay White. Their mother. That was her aunt, and she raised her.
And you're related to Maud then?
Really
yeah,
close. We're first cousins.
Right.
Maud Rice and them. the white family, and then the lone chief was my mother's uncle. That was the old lady there, Emmett Pearson. That's the uncle. But the rest, I don't know their Indian names. They had that, further back. But that's as far as I know right there. And then the old lady, I knew her, Lizzie. And then when they got married, my dad married Maggie Washington.
Okay.
So
now
then she passed away after she had Katie, see?
Okay.
Katie they killed, and that's Eleanor and them's mother.
Yeah.
Well, then he turned around and he married my mother, see?
Okay, now she was a cousin of Maggie or a sister?
Yeah,
a cousin.
Well, I guess you'd say half-sister.
Okay.
They'd be half-sisters, them two, Maggie and them. Maybe they had the same father, see? And but different mothers. My mother had my grandmother had an Indian name. That was my grandmother's name, my mother's mother. I think they said her father was Geographic.
I've heard that name. I've heard Garland say that name.
Yeah, well, that was Barclay White's name.
Okay.
Maud and them's father's name. See, and they're all cousins there.
Okay.
And so he married her, and then they had. That's been, I don't know what year that would be. They got married, but anyway, they got married, and when let's see, when somebody like them, now they were cousins, and then if in Indian way, it's a sister.
Right.
See, in Indian way, it would be sister. Well, then if he married Maggie, and then he married my mother after Maggie passed away. See, in Oklahoma, they had one wife. But back there, they used to marry all the sisters, see.
Now that's an important point.
Yeah, see, they used to all, when like if there were 3 sisters, well, this man, he'd marry all of them, see.
Was there any time when he couldn't marry all of them?
No,
They'd marry somebody else?
They had to marry them, all of them. That was their ruling. I don't know how far back it was, but that's the way I heard it.
That's the way it was. Now, where did they all live when they were?
They all lived in a mud lodge,
Did they live with his folks or with her folks?
With her folks. Well, my mother did with her folks. See, Grandma Washington. We used to call her Grandma Washington.
Is that the same? Excuse me, Nora. Is that the same one as Old Lady Washington, who was Effie Blaine was a good friend of hers? Is that the same old lady? Because Garland used to talk about Old Lady Washington and his grandmother, how they used to sit and they talk about Nebraska. Is that the same one, you think?
Well, I don't know.
Is there more than one Washington family in the tribe?
I guess it was her. But anyway, then they'd all live in one group. But in Oklahoma, they finally got to where they'd, make their own home. Now here, my father and mother my father heired this land, see. Then they built a home on it. Must have been in 1908, because I was born in 1909. See, and this was here a year, this house. So, this is an old home, then they moved away from the old lady, see, when they was down there. They had a house of their own they used to live there where the lake's at now. The old lady owned land there.
Oh, okay.
And they had a roundhouse on there.
Yeah.
First roundhouse was built there, but I don't know what year that was.
The Skeety roundhouse? The Skeety, the northbound?
Yeah, the Skeety. And then finally, they wanted to move it, so Mrs. Goody go over here, just about a mile apart, then they put that roundhouse over here, see.
On her property?
On,
Good Eagle?
Mrs. Nora Good Eagle.
Nora,
Her name was Nora Good Eagle. That was Irene Pettit's grandmother.
Oh.
Then they had that roundhouse there a long time. And then when they condemned this place, you know, this whole village here, see, there was Indian men all in there. Nora Good Eagle, Lizzie Washington, Arthur Fields, Colonel Moore, and Ben Gover. They all owned that to the dam. See?
Oh.
And then George Gober owned the other one on the other side, see.
I see.
That was all Indian men until they condemned it. And then they moved that roundhouse, see. They tore that roundhouse. They said we could tear it down. So they tore it down and they brought the lumber over here and they piled it up there.
On your place?
On my father's place here. He was living then. That must have been in I don't know, remember really. In the 30s, I guess.
Not late.
No, 20s. Because this roundhouse, Lynford had it built, see.
Lynford Smith?
Lynford Smith had this roundhouse built here in him and I got married in 1932, and then they built it in 1933.
Was that your first marriage? Lynford Smith.
I was married Indian way.
Tell me about that. Could you tell me about that? This is the women.
You'll be telling it.
Oh, no. Well, it doesn't, most people, this is something that's historical, isn't it, Nora? Indian way?
Well, in the Indian way, see, I guess he went and asked Charlie Allen. See, that was his friend, Lynford Smith. I guess they talked about it, and then finally they come and send my father and mother, see. They talk. I didn't know nothing about it, see.
Did you know him at all?
Well, just to see him and say hello, and that was it. He was an old man, you know. So.
How old were you, Nora? 16?
No, I was 22, I believe, or 23 at that time. So they talked about it, and finally my mother asked me and my dad. They said they wanted me to marry him, you know, to go ahead and, you know, if they wanted Indian marriage, you know. So.
That's wonderful. Did you want to marry him?
I said, I don't want to get married. They said, yeah, well, you have to sometimes. I said, well, I'd rather stay here and help you folks. You know, my dad was sickly. Finally, they talked me into it, you know. I thought, well, I'll just please them, and if I can't get along with them, I'll just quit, see?
Yeah, that's reasonable.
I finally agreed, so we got married in June, I forgot the day. Anyway, in 32. So then after we got married, well, then they had an Indian deal. See, he furnished all the food and everything.
He did.
He did, and his aunt, and the night chief. That was his own aunt. See.
That's what.
Well, she helped him, and then they brought two or three horses.
Oh, no.
3 horses, and then they brought blankets and stuff and money, and they gave them to my relatives.
To your relatives.
That's the way
it's done.
Well,
that's the way
so he bought me. See, that's what they always say. He bought me and paid for me. The Indian way and white man's way. See, so that's the way. We had the dinner right out here, and they gave to my relatives.
How many people were here about?
Oh, there was a whole bunch of them. Everybody came that wanted to come. So that was it. And,
that's the way Garland's grandmother got married. Same way.
Yeah, that's the way they used to do it. If a man wanted, or if his parents wanted a certain girl, well, then they talked about it, and then they matched them up, see. And then if the lady agreed, well, then they go ahead and get married.
What if she wouldn't agree? What would happen to her?
Well, they wouldn't, you know, just cancel it.
They just,
forget about it.
Did that make it bad for her? Did people think she wasn't,
No.
They did.
She just didn't like it, you know, and that. But if she agreed, most of them did.
Well, yeah.
She just, Mamie Morgan and Lucy Linkson was married Indian way, too. Mamie was married down here at the roundhouse there. Mamie Morgan, down here. And she was just about 15 years old, her and Lucy, when they graduated at Pawnee School, see?
Yeah, I kind of remember that.
That's all.
Okay, well, when you were all here eating, did anybody say anything? Did anybody talk? Did any old man get up and talk to you? Or
and even the old ladies, you know, they come and they were thankful that I did that, see. And the white, Indian, my relatives, you know, they talk, you know.
They get up and talk like they do now.
Just encourage you, you know, and say they like for you to get along with them and like that, you know. So that's about all.
Where did you go to live then?
Downtown on 407 East Granite. He had that bungalow there. That's where Roberta lives now.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where we lived. And I lived with him, I think, from 32 to 38. How many years? About 5. 5 years. And then he passed away. And that was it.
Lynford Smith. I've heard that name a lot.
Yeah, he was the first rich man, I guess you'd say.
How did you, from oil?
Orwell's down south on his allotment, and then on his John Smith's mother's place. What was her name? I can't even think about it.
That's all right.
I know it too.
Isn't that all? I'm like that. People ask me names and I can't remember. That's okay.
So that's about all. That, you know.
And you went along with your parents' wishes because you wanted to please them. And I suppose most girls would do that. They would. People didn't fall in love and get married in those days.
No,
it was all just sort of business-like arrangement.
Yeah, it was arranged, you know. But otherwise, you know, they'd, I guess if they didn't want to, they wouldn't do it, you know. I kind of didn't want to, but again, I thought, well, I'll please them. That's just, you know, please. Go along with them. I thought, well, if I can't get along with him, they'll always get a divorce, you know.
Yeah. In the old days, if you didn't get along, how did you separate? Like if your mother hadn't gotten along with her husband, how did they just?
I imagine they just quit
and just go back. Well, he'd have to leave because he would be living with the mother's parents.
Well, that's what they do. Or if they passed away, well then. You know, then maybe later on somebody else would come and ask for her. You know, whether they.
Then the second marriage. Would they do the same thing on the second marriage?
No, they just let him marry her.
He didn't have to give her any horses or do anything like
unless
that.
he wanted to. I guess.
Garland was telling me something, Nora. He said that sometimes in Nebraska when maybe a man would die, then then his brothers would try to come if there had been a lot of horses and would try to take the horses away from the woman. And sometimes her brothers would have to come and try to see that didn't happen. Was there any kind of anything like that after they got back here where the people who had given the horses tried to take them back?
No, I don't think so.
It probably was just up there in Nebraska.
It might have been. I never did hear of them taking anything back.
Or maybe that was just the South bands, you know. The bands didn't always.
No, they never. Whatever they had. Not like Grandma Washington. She was married to. There was a. He was He had a lot of cattle. His name was Esau.
Esau, yes.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. I know who that is.
Joe Esau, I believe. That was Gertie Perry and Joe Esau's father.
Okay.
And he was married to these sisters, see.
Mm-hmm.
And then my grandma, she had that girl for him, Josie Esau.
Mm-hmm.
So when he passed away, well, these three women divided them cattle he had. See, each one got an equal share.
Did they do that on their own, or did the agency step
No,
in and do it?
they did that on their own. Whatever he had, that's all he had is cattle. See, he was from, I don't know where he was from, Winnebago or Omaha or something, from up north. So that's all.
Did they stay together after that? Did they all continue to live together, the three
No,
wives?
they each had their own home, but they gave to that girl, see, on account of, I guess he wasn't with her, you know, the old lady. She married John Box later.
Oh, that would be my grandfather. If
Yeah,
he
that
had
was
been living.
that was John Box. He was that was Maggie's father.
I know it.
Yeah, so that's where he married my grandma. I always call her grandma because that's
Is that
all
how we're related? Is that how we're related?
Well, no, it's I guess maybe too, you know, that's in a way. And then we was related to the old man, John Box. My father was. So that's how come, you know, well, they all mix, you know, they're all related. And
nowadays.
So that's
good.
That's all I could say, you know,
that's interesting. That's very
that's
good.
From my own experience, you know. That's
When did they stop having the Indian marriages? The next generation?
After that, I guess.
The next generation, like your children.
Yeah.
After that, they.
And then my generation too. A lot of them, they just went and got married, you know. But we never did. I never did go around like a lot of them, you know. I just stayed home. My dad was sickly, and I used to have to give him medicine, you know. That's how come I quit school. I quit school in 1927, just to stay home and take care of him.
That was a good thing to do.
I took care of him, and finally in 30 to 32, I believe it was, the fall of 32 or 33 it was, and he passed away. Oh, he got sick, and we took him to the hospital, but he passed away. He was over there 3 months. We had to take care of him, my mother and I. My half sister never would come and help. Katie, Eleanor, and them some other. It's awful sometimes when you stop and think, you know, how people treat others. And
I know. Well, it still goes on too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's really hear about things like that every now and then. You just wonder how people in the tribe can treat each other like that. Really sad.
Yeah, that's about all. Only that sisters would marry the brother, or
the sisters would marry the brother, right? So sometimes a man was married to a woman that was a lot older than he was.
Yeah.
That's very interesting to me because I've noticed in the tribe there are a lot of, not a lot, but there are women who are a lot older than their husbands.
And then sometimes too, the man always be older than the, you know.
It can be either way.
Either way it goes. That just depends on, you know.
So age
didn't make no difference.
That's kind of nice, isn't it? White people are the other way around. You know, they always say the woman ought to be
younger than the man.
But I've noticed that among the Pawnees that.
It's that way among all the people, like Otos, Punkas, and different places. You know, they get married and. So That's about all I could say, you know, that was, on that subject, you know. And
Yeah, well,
they had children. That's all coming out. This, for instance, this Rebecca White, she was a leader. Rebecca Leader and Emma Leader. They married my Uncle John Moses.
Oh,
See?
yeah.
Well, this Emma, after they said that, let's see, Emma, she had a bunch of children, and then Rebecca, she had a girl and a boyfriend. See, that was Alan Moses and Minnie Moses, and she was a horse chief. See,
Okay.
that's where Delbert, horse chief, and them all come in, you know, Levi and them. That's how come I'm related to them.
Oh,
see,
I see.
that was
I didn't know that.
We had same grandfather. See, and these Emma Moses, she had James Moses and. Oh, there was a bunch of them. Mary Moses and Stella Moses, Bertha Moses and Jake Moses and Frank Moses, and he had a bunch. Harry Moses and the other one, Henry.
One was a
Henry
good friend
Moses.
of Garland's. I remember he lived down at.
And that's
down at Anadarko someplace.
So that, see, there was half-brother and half-sisters. Minnie and Alan Moses was half-brother and half-sister to them. That other bunch of Moses, see. But,
that was a big family, wasn't it?
Yeah, they're all gone but one boy. Jacob Moses is the only one. And Alan, he's still living down there.
Yeah, that might be the... I don't know if the one that Garland was such a good friend to is still living or not. I can't remember.
Henry?
Might be. There's a picture of him that Andy...
He used to be kind of an artist, like.
That might have been him. He and Garland were good friends.
Then there was a Jim Moses. He used to work in that Tinkerfield, I believe. Is it Tinkerfield down there?
Well, I imagine Garland knew him because he worked there for 30 years.
James Moses, he worked down there a long time till he passed away.
Yeah.
Oh, there's
a lot of them.
You know, there was a bunch of that. I had a lot of cousins, but on my father's side, pretty all of them's gone. But my mother's side, oh my, this swarms of them.
Got all kinds of kinfolks.
I got all kinds of relatives, besides outsiders.
Everybody calling you relative, whether you are or not.
Yeah, whether I'm related to them or not.
Unless you're popular, huh? Good friend.
The other day, you got it off?
No, you want to turn it off?
They said they used to go in Nebraska, and the girls would help them with the housework. I'm gonna put it that way. You know, after they became so old, where they can help. You know, and then they go out in a garden, help haul wood. They used to haul wood. You know that. They said they used to go down them ladies used to have to gather the wood. They'd go down in the timber and cut the wood, you know, and bring it in and pile it up so they have enough for winter. Because they said they used to be cold up there. So they had to stack it up, I guess, and they'd, you know, haul it.
Inside.
They'd haul it and stack it up. And
they hauled it on their back.
Yeah, they used ropes, some kind of a ropes. I imagine Indian ropes, you know. They'd pack them any way they can get them to the village, I guess you'd say. They all live in the village, and they said they used to have clean yards. They said they used to cut that grass, you know, that grass, and just be clean around their building.
Yeah. I wonder why that was necessary.
Well, they said that the way they believed, they said if you have a trashy yard, that you'll always have sickness. See, there was a point in that one.
That is true.
Yeah, if you have a lot of trash and stuff, you know, they said you'll have sickness. Always keep that away, and you keep sickness away. That old man, Billy Osborne, they used to live up here at Ralston. he was married to that Harry Coon's grandmother.
Susan? No.
You didn't know Harry Coon?
No, he was gone before I think he was dead when I came here, but...
Well, anyway, they lived south of Ralston.
In the old place?
That Sam Osborne's father, and he married Harry Coon's grandma, see? Well, they lived up there, and yeah, every day he'd get out, and they had a fence in the yard, you know, and he'd get out there and he'd clean them grass, you know. And he just had that place just slick, you know, clean all the time. But, after he left, well, then they let the grass grow, you know, and cut it. And I don't know how it is now. Just Herbert lives there.
Oh, I see. I don't know that person.
He never comes around. They don't never. The other one passed away a while back, Joe. You know, the two Pearson brothers.
Oh, yes.
So that's...
Well, the little girl then would help with the cooking.
Imagine. Help with, you know, hand things to them. And they said they used to sit down by the fireplace and make bread, you know, or whatever they do. Was they need... And if they used to make bread in that and coals, you know, too. You know, in a coal.
It out and just lay it in there?
Just lay, spread the coals out and then lay that in there, and that would cook it. Put it back over that. Oh, that bread's good when you eat it.
Just flour and water?
Just flour and water and baking powder.
They had baking powder up there.
Yeah, when white people come in there, I'm going to put it down.
Those old white traders.
They used to bring different things, you know, I guess, and then there was a man up there. He had a store.
Was that Whittywa?
I don't know.
Garland said there was a trader thing called Whittywa. He had red hair.
I guess that's who it was. I never did learn his name. And then one of them followed them down here. He come down, he followed them down. He wanted to be around them, I guess.
I think that was John Williams.
Yeah, I never did know their names, but anyway, that's, you know, this is what you hear, you know, that's all I could repeat, you know, because I didn't experience that up there, you know, only here.
Well, did the little girl get involved? How old was she when she had to go out to the fields and really start hoeing and getting the corn ready to dry it? And 8?
I imagine around
7 or 8.
Yeah, around there somewhere, 11, 12, somewhere. Just whenever they felt like, you know.
Depending on how many children and how many women in a household. Sometimes there weren't very many, you might get.
The women did all the gardening and everything, they said.
I wonder if the men did anything.
Yeah, they did the hunting, providing the meat
Well, I mean
and
in
stuff.
the garden.
Well, I guess some of them did, you know, and then some of them helped, and so I don't know what all they did.
It was hard, though. I think it was a real hard life because they had to drag all that lumber and.
Then when they used to build their mud lodges, they said they used to have to cut the poles about a year ahead and let it season. See. Everything the poles and everything, you know, that they use this way. But Red Bruce's building's falling in at Pawnee Bill.
Oh, isn't it though? Oh, that building. Oh goodness, that's a. Did you help? You didn't help build that, did you? No. They didn't have any Indians in on that.
The Red Bruce and them built it. I don't know who else was in it, but
Garland went and walked in there and he said, "Boy, this is a sorry-looking place." He went in there one time, and that did it. He wouldn't go in again.
I went in there. I said, "Oh my, what a building!"
Like a barn without a roof.
I don't know how they did it, but they said they used to get, you know, blocks of earth, you know. They'd cut them in blocks like bricks, you know, and lay them.
Garland gave me some real good descriptions of that for the South Bank, how long they were, how deep they were.
Yeah, they used to be
them?
thick, you know, and then they'd lay them
Yeah.
all up. And after this, put that willows. There was willows inside, you know. After, you know, them little twigs, like, you know.
Yeah.
I say twigs, but they're little
little
trees, you know. So big, you know. And they'd put them all in there, and then they'd put grass in there, and then they put that dirt around. That was a lot of work, you know, but that was warm, and it was cool in the summertime. They had a mud lodge up here on the hill. You know where that drive-in's at? On this side, that's where Grandma Washington and them had a mud lodge there. There's a plum bush there.
Oh.
That's where that, I guess the fireplace and the, what you call it, was there. And then finally they moved down from up there and moved down further into that foot of that.
Yeah, there were quite
where that drive-in's at, she owned that down through there. You know, that one.
There were quite a few mud lodges here in the early days.
Yeah, I guess there was. And then down toward, Roan Chief place, they had a mud lodge
Garland
there.
showed me where that was years ago.
Stay out. That's where, and then they had one out to, don't you go anywhere. No. Go sit down way out there. That, out to Lou Walk's place, they had a mud lodge out there.
Yeah, Garland told me that his grandparents were there when they helped build it, and that he described that ceremony, you know, they had after the thing was built or before.
Yeah.
And
well, you know, our Pawnees, they never did anything without praying before.
that's
Before they do anything, they always pray. Even here, they did that. Frank Young Eagle and I think George Echo Hawk and Lynford and Uncle John and there were some others, but I can't remember who they were. They were all here, you know. They come over and they smoked the pipe and prayed.
What time was this? What was this? When you got married or something?
No, when they was building this roundhouse.
Oh.
See that roundhouse up there?
Oh, I see it. That's it. That's the first time I've ever seen it, Nora.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You didn't know it was here?
No, you told me it was here, but I didn't know where it was. It's right there.
Yeah. They moved in it. My children moved in there. My grandchildren. They didn't couldn't get no place in town, you know, to live.
I see a flag. No, that's not a flag. It's a light.
Yeah, that's they got they're trying to fix it up. Of course, that roof was all worn, you know, from the storm, you know, and everything. But now they moved in there until they can get a house, you know.
Well, that's good. That would be a nice place to live, I think.
Yeah, it's all, you know, just a roundhouse. See that one over there in town, you know, at the agency? They supposed to have copied this, see? But they got all the modern rafters in there, you know. That,
and all the air goes out to the top. And it's
too high, you know. That they got the air conditioner up there, but it just...
Sure is cold last Christmas. Oh, wasn't that awful? I never was so cold. My feet were like ground.
Pierre LeClaire said, I like the froze. He said, that's why we come home. I said, you have to be tough when you come to Pawnee.
We Pawnees were tough. Oh, wow. They were supposed to copy that, and they didn't. How big? That's pretty big, isn't it?
It's a small one compared to that South Brown House building.
I never saw that one either.
It's a big place there. I don't know, maybe the foundation might still be there.
On whose place is that?
You know where that was on that, I think Spotted Horse or Floor Leader in them's place.
Spotted Horse.
I think that's who it was that Well, anyway, they used to live there, and then you go by their gate, and go in on this side, and you follow that road, and there's a little rocky ford there, and you go back this way. It was on a hill there.
I'd like to see that sometime.
Come by, and I'll go with you.
All right, next week we'll do that. Want
That,
to? You can. Yeah, Garland and I tried to. We got a map, and we tried to put down for the South Band all the where the old mud lodges had been, you know, because that's important. It's important to know. And we did that, and well, we never went to the South Roundhouse. I guess he thought we'd get there sometime, but we didn't make it. And he's, you know,
do you know where Cummings Gate used to be?
Before you cross the creek?
When you cross the creek, and then there's another little bridge there. You know, Griesel's house is on this side, a little square house there.
Well, I hadn't been there for a long time, Nora.
And then Cummings used to go this way, but you go straight on up that little, you cross that creek, and then you, Camp Creek, and then you go on further up. I'd say about a half a mile, I guess. And then there's used to be cedar trees. I ain't been down that way for a long time. Yeah, and then you go through that, I don't know whether there's a gate there, and there used to be a good spring down in the bottom.
Oh, that's why they built it there, maybe, because there was water not nearby. Maybe that was one reason. I'm sure there were other reasons, because...
Yeah, they sure had good spring down there. The people used to go down there and get water, and then finally they built a pump up there, drilled a pump, well, rather, and put a pump there, and that's where they got their water. And some of them go down there in that spring and bathe. It was always clear.
It was fun.
That water was cold, though.
Yeah.
That's where we used to camp, too, when the Skiddies used to visit the South Bend.
Oh, that's something I want to talk about sometime, because that was that visiting back and forth, and the adoptions.
Tobacco.
The adoptions, doing that. I've got some of that.
Yeah, they'd make friends, with somebody, and then they'd exchange gifts every year.
We still do that, don't we? Not exactly like that, but somewhat.
Then we used to go down to Perk and take tobacco down there, and we'd exchange gifts with them.
With the Iowa?
They'd give to us, like we do the Wichitas,
You did that with the Iowa. The Skiddies?
My father and Charlie Allen started that in, I don't know, in the 20s somewhere.